Hi guys, this is Jan for Chess24. We're out of super tournaments. No more Baden-Baden, no more Zurich. What we do have is the European Individual Championship, which at the very least sports 63 players, higher rated than 2600. So there are quite some exciting games. The goal in the European Championship is to finish amongst the first 23 to qualify for the World Cup. And one guy who might have even bigger goals than that one, maybe to win the thing, is Jan Nepomniachtchi, who won the European Individual Championship. Well, he shared first in 2013. He did win the Russian Individual Championship once. He's been working with Magnus Carlsen. In the fifth round, he faced Yevgeny Romanov, another very strong Russian player. That's the game we're gonna have a look at. Before we'll bring up this lovely picture of Mr. Nepomniachtchi, whose name I've been practicing a lot. I'm not sure I'm there yet. As mentioned, former second of Magnus Carlsen. Some people say he had his hands in one or two of the white games Magnus played against Vichy in Sochi, where he was present. You might have seen him on Chess24 commentating together with Peter Svidler. So Jan Nepomniachtchi, well-known guy, very famous blitz player as well. He's the favorite in today's game, but Romanov 26-25 is by no means a pushover. Nepomniachtchi goes c4, c6, knight f3, d5 and e3. Move order that I like to use a lot as well against Slav players to make their life a little bit more difficult. White doesn't commit to d4 yet, and plans to go knight c3 first and then adjust to the black setup. Knight f6, knight c3, and bishop to g4. One key idea of the white move order is that you can't really go bishop f5 here, which you could do if there was no knight on c3, but a pawn on d4 instead. Because here after bishop f5, cd5, cd5, queen b3 is a problem. Targeting those two pawns, that's nothing you want. You can go e6, but not every Slav player is also a semi-Slav expert, and here white would go, or could go d4, transposing into the semi-Slav, or continue with the trickery and postpone d4 by playing queen c2. For details on all this stuff, check out my excellent series, How to Build Your 1d4 Repertoire, on chess24.com. Can't plug it with a straight face, but I'm going into some more details there. Knight c3, bishop g4 is the move played. And Nepomniachtchi surprised me a little bit. He went queen to b3 here. The move I like better is the move c takes d5 first. The reason is that after queen b3 in the game, black plays queen b6. While if you go cd5 first, black can't really play cd5 because now white plays queen b3 and queen b6 is no longer possible since there is this intermediate move knight takes d5. After queen takes b3, there is knight takes f6 intermediate check. So all of this is made possible by starting with c takes d5. Black normally doesn't fall for it and goes bishop f3. After queen f3, c d5. I believe white has decent chances to get an advantage here, but maybe Nepomniachtchi had a different opinion. Hence he went for the move queen b3. Queen b6, now it's too late for c d5 because black would take on b3 first and have no problems. So instead, white went knight to e5, avoiding bishop takes f3 and attacking this bishop. Bishop e6 might look a little passive, but this is a pretty well-known method. Black will continue with g6, bishop g7, knight bd7, and say, okay, your knight on e5 is very pretty, but I'm just going to exchange it or it's going to cost you more time. d4 now, knight bd7, f4, g6, bishop d2, bishop g7. I believe the opening went pretty well for Romanov here. He's almost ready to castle and then go c5 or d takes c4, while Nepomniachtchi hasn't achieved that much really. He plays the move queen a3 here, which is very ambitious, avoiding the queen exchange and eyeing the e7 pawn, trying to stop black from castling. And Romanov comes up with a very sensible solution. He takes on c4, knight takes c4, and just goes back, queen to d8. Queen did her job on b6, can now return to d8 to protect this pawn and prepare to castle. The white knight on c4 also doesn't find a ton of work, so it goes back to e5, castle, bishop e2. Note that white has lost a bit of time moving his knight around, moving his queen around, and that his king has not castled yet, which will become a factor later. Not a big fan of Romanov's next move, even though I think it's quite fine. He plays the move a5, but this looked like it was possible already to play c5, breaking in the center. Knight takes d7, knight takes d7, and if dc5, white is a pawn up. This is a very typical Grunfeld type of position where black is extremely active after rook c8, playing to just take this pawn, and if white were to play b4, a5, the white pawn chain would start crumbling, and I would take black here. So c5, I believe, was possible. However, a5 leading to a slower kind of game is very playable as well. Nepomniachtchi once again refuses to castle with the move rook d1. This looks like a sensible time to get your king into safety, but he does not do so. Plays rook d1, which is also a sensible move, of course. The idea is that now after knight takes e5, he wants to recapture with the d pawn, which was not possible after castles, because this bishop would be under attack. So he goes for knight takes e5, d e5, knight d7. Once again, he doesn't castle. This time, probably he didn't like the move b5, threatening b4, and instead played the move b3 to create some retreat squares for his majesty. Romanov goes about opening the center and tightening white's grip here a little bit. f6, e takes f, e takes f, e4. I might start sounding like a broken record. Castle was possible again, but I guess he didn't like f5. When after e4, black would take and be at least equal. So Nepomniachtchi plays very ambitiously, plays a move e4. This is directed against f5, which was played nonetheless. Could argue about that, could suggest other moves, but f5 is quite principled, trying to open this diagonal for his bishop and asking white to do what he does in the game, which is to play the move e5. Now this, of course, strategically is quite nice for white. He's established a protected passed pawn, and he's managed to keep this bishop at bay. However, he still hasn't castled, and now black tries to strike while the iron is hot. I'm trying to use random expressions, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, by playing the move g5, undermining this pawn chain. Once again, castles was possible, there were quite some chances, but after gf, bishop f4, queen b6 check, turns out that black is fine because this pawn all of a sudden became very weak. King h1, queen c5. Can't take the pawn yet because of queen to d6. With a double attack, the queen c5 was quite good, leading to a pleasant ending for black. So Nepomniachtchi sticks to his guns, keeps playing with the king in the middle, goes for the move queen to d6, which, yeah, makes a lot of sense. It attacks this bishop and it defends this pawn. So it has a double purpose, and it asks black to do something about the bishop. Romanov plays the most natural move, rook to e8. Queen e8 was possible, but looks a bit clumsy, so rook e8 is fine. Nepomniachtchi, well, you guessed it by now, he doesn't castle, but he plays more concretely. Plays the move bishop h5, attacking this rook. And here Romanov has seen enough, and he says, you know what, you refuse to castle, let's make it a little harder. I will stop you from doing so by playing queen b6 in this position, which is an exchange sacrifice. It's quite ambitious, not sure if it's good or bad, it's principled for sure. The alternative was the, once again, slightly clumsy looking move, rook to e7, which might not have been too bad, but nothing that black wanted to play because now his pieces kind of look a little silly and lose some coordination, and white would finally have castled, I guess. So queen b6, principled chess, bishop takes e8. Of course, the gift is accepted, has to be accepted. Rook takes e8. And here, Nepomniachtchi overdoes it. This position is already very complicated. White is an exchange up, and he has to find a way to take care of his king before all hell breaks loose with gf, bishop e5, whatnot. And the way to do that was the move knight to e2. Knight is a king's best friend. It not only blocks this e file, it's also preparing the move queen to d4 to block this diagonal. Here white seems to be doing alright, at least at first glance I couldn't find anything convincing for black. Gf, bishop f4, a4 is the move given by the computer, but now queen d4, and it looks like white will finally manage to castle, probably lose a pawn or two in the process, but he could very well come out with an edge because he is an exchange up after all. So that was what he should have done, but instead Nepomniachtchi overdoes it, goes for the move knight to a4. And as we all know, a knight on the rim is dim. This is no exception. The knight is just too far away from the battlefield here. Black, of course, keeps his queen on this diagonal, goes queen to a7, still not allowing castles. And now Nepomniachtchi really is in trouble. Plays queen c7. Maybe this was his idea to pick up the a5 pawn, but it does look a little too much. Black had a very, very strong move here already. He had the move queen to d4, which was not played in the game. Planning to go queen e4 check, followed by bishop d5. And it looks like there's already no defense for white. One line I was looking at, and by saying I was looking at is I gave it to the computer. It's queen takes a5, queen e4 check, king f2, bishop to d5, and white is not going to survive. Rook g1 here. The rest is a pure computer line just for your entertainment. Bishop takes e5, f takes e5, knight takes e5. And this king is not going to make it. Bishop takes g5, knight d3. Rook takes, queen e2 check, king g3, queen g4. King f2, rook e2, king f1, bishop g2. And it's checkmate. Not forced, but actually goes to show what danger white was in. And the move queen to d4 looked like a real bone breaker already. Instead, Romanov played the move g takes f4, also extremely logical, trying to make his way to the e5 pawn. And after queen takes a5, now he goes queen d4. Of course, black is not interested in exchanging queens if he doesn't have to. Still keeping the white king in the center. White is still in trouble. Nepomniachtchi finds the best defense here, which is not an easy feat. There's so many threats. Queen e4 check, bishop d5 still in the air. Any piece taking on e5 is a problem. Whole white position is a problem. Nepomniachtchi finds the move queen b4, stopping queen e4 and forcing black to occupy e5 with his queen. Queen takes e5, king f1. King f2 might have been more resilient actually, but king f1 looks more natural since it doesn't allow any checks. It did allow a fantastic move, which is once again not easy to find, but once you see it, it makes a lot of sense, and it would have decided the game. Quiet little move with the queen, actually. The move queen to d5. Main threat is queen d3 check. Let's make a move a3, queen d3 check, king g1, bishop d4 check. Here, I even created a square due to h3, but it's not enough. King h2, queen g3, checkmate. And it's surprisingly tough to meet this idea of queen d3. It's not the only idea. f3 is also in the air. But queen d3 alone is a big, big headache. Queen c4 is the most resilient. But turns out here that even after the queen exchange, the white king is in too much trouble. One big reason, once again, this knight on a4, which isn't really helping the defense. Here after bishop d4, king f3, bishop e2, king f4, knight f6. If your most active piece is your king, you will be in trouble, and this is not an exception. Rook e1, for example, knight h5 check, king f5, rook e5 checkmate would be a pretty finish to the game. Did not happen though. Queen d5, not an easy move to make, and it's not the move Romanov played. He played the move c5, which is also quite good, but not as strong as queen d5, which was winning. After c5, queen takes f4 is forced, and it's a move you like to play. You pick up a pawn and offer the exchange of queens, which of course would benefit white. And we see Romanov's idea here, which is a very pretty tactical shot actually. The move bishop takes b3. That was his point. Not sure this is the best option actually. There was also the very easy way to play takes, and now b5, once again punishing this knight on a4, which does not have anywhere to go. So what white would have had to try is rook d7, bishop d7, knight takes c5. Here after bishop c6, only black can be better. He has the two bishops, and white has not finished his development yet. White might survive here, but only black can hope for a win. Maybe Romanov thought, I want more out of this position, and that's why he went for bishop takes b3. Point is a b3, queen e2 check, winning the house. And in the game, queen takes e5 was played. Now there is the intermediate move, bishop c4 check. Saving the bishop after king g1. Now you take on e5. We reach an ending where, once again, black is an exchange down, but his pieces are very, very active. Took with the knight, which is the most natural move. Strongest move might have been rook takes e5, based on yet another little tactic after bishop to c3. It looks very strong. But black has the cute move bishop h6, threatening checkmate once again. Bishop e5, bishop e3 would be the end of the game. And if white parries that threat with h3, black goes rook e7 and will follow with b5, b4. Can still be quite confident about the future. Set knight takes e5, also pretty decent move. Bishop to c3. And this is the turning point of the game. So far, Romanov has missed a chance or two, but he's been doing all right. And in this position, he turns that upside down. I'm not sure why, because his next move is really, really strange. He plays the move rook to a8, which is bad. It allows the move knight to b6 with a double attack and consolidating. Instead of rook e8, there were still ways for black to keep his initiative going. The most obvious one, just grab the pawn with bishop takes a2. Then there was the computerish solution, bishop e2. Once again, intending bishop h6 after, let's say, rook b1, bishop h6, with a lot of play. So black's position was by no means bad, but rook a8 changes that. And here, after knight b6, all of a sudden, black is clearly worse, which is a huge one-move turnaround. You don't see it often in games like this. Bishop to e2. I'm not sure what he missed. Maybe he was intending to go rook takes a2, but it doesn't really work for many reasons. Bishop takes e5, bishop e5, knight c4. Even though black's very active, he's a rook down, which is too much. And this is not even the only line for white instead of bishop takes e5. There was also rook d8 check, so just didn't work, this move rook a8. Not sure why that happened. Bishop e2 was played, which is the best given the circumstances. And Nepomniachtchi took on a8. Rook d5 was quite tempting here as well. Strategically, taking on a8 makes a lot of sense. Because after bishop takes d1, now with this pair of rooks exchanged, white is better. Black is still an exchange down, let's not forget, and now he lost one of his prime attacking resources, that rook, while white will now find the time to finally get his h1 rook into the game and be pushing for a win. Knight c7, good start, planning to go here, here, or here. And black probably still a bit punch-drunk from the chance he missed, goes for the move bishop c2, which is another serious mistake. He had to play king f7 just to stop knight to e6. Bishop c2, knight to e6, and now the game is really reaching its end already. This is a double attack. Black is forced to go knight f3 check, gf, bishop takes c3, but king g2, and this rook finally has its say. It's gonna threaten rook c1 while attacking this pawn. Game over, ladies and gentlemen. Quite quickly the game went away after the move rook a8. Strange error by Mr. Romanov, who played a great game until then, even though he missed a thing or two, which is easy to point out with a computer, but rook a8 I struggle with. Bishop d2, the rest is a formality. White is just a clear exchange up and active, and he converts quite effortlessly. e1, f4, knight c7, last strong move, planning to come to d5, overloading black's construction. Bishop d3, knight d5, bishop c5, rook c1, king f7, and a4, threatening a5. White can pick up this pawn at will. There's just no good move for black here either. So Romanov decided to resign. Bit of a lucky win for Jan Nepomniachtchi, who really did push his luck and had black played queen d4 here, or queen d5 a couple moves later, I don't think he would have managed to save the game. But that's part of it. Nepomniachtchi hung in there and managed to win in the end, which brings him close to the lead with 4 points out of 5. I think he's behind only Anton Kurobov from Ukraine, who leads with 4.5 out of 5. We'll stay tuned, and if there's exciting games in this European Individual Championship, I'll let you guys know. For now, thanks for watching. See you on Chess24. Goodbye.
Until recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peter Svidler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vishy Anand, Peter Svidler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free! Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. For a mere €99 per year, however, you can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. See you at chess24.com.